Hello Rhytorians and welcome to another deck review video. My name is Rhyhorn and today we're going to take a look at the Rocksteady themed deck from the Sun and Moon Burning Shadow set. So I have not created a deck review video for quite a long time, almost a year, but now I am back and I'm going to start making those as frequently as possible and as frequently as the deck's release. But let's start with this one. Stay until the end of the video, in which I'm going to open 2 Burning Shadows booster packs. If you cannot wait and you want to skip there, check out the description of this video. You will find timestamps for the entire video. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm going to try my best to contain myself in a relatively short period of time in order to explain those cards, because if I had to write down my review on those cards, I would write an entire blog post. That's actually not a bad idea. Maybe I should create a website for this. But anyways, I'm going to start with the Pokemon and with the order that they are displayed here. We have one Bouffalant. And in the beginning I underestimated this card until I started playtesting and I realized that, hey, this is definitely not my priority and I'm not going to invest everything on this card, but 120 HP for a basic Pokemon, that's quite a lot. And the Bouffalant head cannot be triggered with a double colorless energy because there is no double colorless energy in this deck, but the Bouffalant head with 2 energy, 30 damage, during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. This is very important because you have quite of an aggressive start and you take no damage from your opponent's early basic Pokemon. So you can knock out 1 or 2 with this guy and then move on with your bench, which is bigger threats. And with 3 energy, knock over 80 damage with 3 energy. That is not bad at all for an uncommon card. At least it's a threat nevertheless. And you may discard any stadium card in play. That is also good because your opponent's stadium card may ruin your day. Next we have a Sawk. And this is, in my opinion, a filler card. I don't like it so much. It has the quick guard move with 1 energy, prevent all damage, which is okay if you want to stall the game. But as I'm going to mention later on, I think that this deck is very energy heavy and the bigger threats are very energy demanding. So if you are in a position where you are stalling the game, you are either trying to build this energy on the bench or you are already screwed. I believe that the latter is the most frequent phenomenon. So I don't like this card so much. I usually don't use it. And with 2 energy, Brick Break, 40 damage, this attack's damage isn't affected by resistance or any effects. That could prove very good. But yeah, still I don't think that this is a good card in this deck. We have 2 Riolu, and okay, it's a basic Pokemon. That's okay for a basic Pokemon to be a 70 HP, 10 damage and 30 damage attacks. But the reason why this card is here is for Lucario, which is the first rare that we're gonna see and the first rare that disappoints me on this deck. We have quite a few rares that disappoint me. This is one of them. And why it does so? It is a rare, of course it is a stage 1, we have to take this into consideration, but still, 120 HP for 3 energy and 3 fighting type energy, submarine blow, 120 damage. That is not a good attack for a rare for a 3 fighting type energy. That is not decent. It is not bad. It is a threat. It is not bad. Now, what I don't like about this Pokemon is the stance ability. And you may say, whoa, you don't like when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon until the end of your opponent's next turn. Well, I do like it. I mean, it's awesome to, prevent the attacks from your opponent for 1 turn, but it is just 1 turn, and in order to use it efficiently, I have to leave my Riolu onto the bench, invest the energy to a weak Pokemon, and risk my opponent with any means, like a Lysander or something, dragging it from my bench onto the battlefield and onto the active spot and knocking it out like that. That's what I don't like the most. Of course, you can do the other thing. You can evolve your Lucario when you have 2 energy and sustain the first blow, the first damage, and then put the 3rd energy next turn and deal 120 damage. But again, I think that it is an okay card, but not a huge threat. That's my opinion about this Lucario. I wouldn't use this Lucario in any standard deck. Then we have 2 Solrock, which I believe it is a better card than Lucario overall. 2 Solrock, 90 HP, that's quite good for a basic Pokemon, I would say. Double draw with 1 energy, draw 2 cards, and Solar Hit with 1 energy again, 20 damage. If there is any stadium card in play, this Pokemon deals 20 more damage. And guess what? We have a stadium card, we're gonna see that later on. So if you have the stadium card, this Pokemon becomes a huge threat very early on the game, which is very important. If you don't have, you can double draw, which lets you set up your strategy and also increases the chances of dominating the game with Meowstic, which we're gonna see later on. But this card is a very good one. It is a key card in this deck, and I'm very glad that they included it. Next up, we have the Rhyhorn, Rhydon, and Rhyperior line. And this is strange because it's one of those situations where I like the uncommon card more than the rare, believe it or not, but I will not cancel. I will not say that the rare is not good. It is, but it's not as good as I would expect it to be. So let's start with Rhyhorn, a very basic Pokemon, 8 HP with 2 energy, lunge out, 20 damage. That is very slow, but it is okay for such a heavy Pokemon. With 3 energy, Horn Drill, that's a very good, a very huge increase from 2 energy to 3, and I like this thing. So 2 energy, 20 damage, that's bad for a basic Pokemon, but 3 energy, 60 damage, that is surprisingly good, and I like it very much. Also, it is preparing for its next form, which is Rhydon, with 3 energy, 80 damage, Rock Tumble, whatever, and this attack's damage isn't affected by resistance. That is very important, especially against flying type Pokemon, which have usually resistance to fighting type. This negates it, and it can turn games around. Now, with 4 energy, we have the Mega Horn, 120 damage, flip a coin, if tails, this attack does nothing. If you know me at all, you know that I hate coin flips, but since the Rock Tumble is a very decent attack in my opinion, I like to have the hope and the option to potentially flip a heads and deal 120 damage, which is enough to knock out actually most of the rares in the game. Also, even if I don't flip the Mega Horn, the 4 energy is definitely necessary for Rhyperior, which is the next evolution. But before talking about Rhyperior, I want to say that I really appreciate that we have 3 Rhydons, because in my opinion, Rhydon is a huge threat. I've won more games with Rhydon than Rhyperior, and that is a fact. So let's move on. We have Rhyperior. It is a 160 stage 2 Pokemon, 160 HP, which is quite a lot and a decent number, and I appreciate that. And it has the completely, in my opinion, irrelevant in this deck ability of Toppling Wind. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. I find this a very irrelevant ability in this deck because you don't have any other means of milling down your opponent. Many people think that when you mill your opponent, you always get benefited from this one, because you have a chance to mill your opponent's biggest threats, and that is true, but what is also true is that you have a great chance to mill your opponent's biggest crap, which leads him to draw the biggest threats easily. So keep that in mind next time that you see mill abilities on Pokemon and on any card games in general, that it might be good, but it might not be good, especially if it is one-off. If your whole strategy is mill, that is okay, but if not, it could be bad for you. And what else is quite bad for this Pokemon is that it has only one move other than the ability, which is 4 energy. That is totally fine. I would say that it is quite cheap. Rock Wrecker, 170 damage. That can probably knock out everything in the Theme Deck category. I'm not sure about that, but if not everything, 1 or 2 Pokemon would avoid this one. And the side effect. No, whatever. The bad thing about this move is that this attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance. Actually, this is a good thing. Maybe. But this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. That is the worst thing. Your Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. Which means that you have to attack once, wait a turn, attack twice, and wait a turn again. What does this mean? That you need 4 turns. It's going to take you 4 turns, maybe, to when you knock out a big threat. So let's assume that your opponent has the biggest threat on the active spot. So you play Rhyperior, you attack once, you knock out your opponent's biggest threat. Most probably your opponent is going to promote a sacrifice Pokemon in order to build up defenses, or actually build up a way to deal with your threat, Rhyperior, on the bench. So he's going to promote a sacrifice Pokemon. Then you wait for a turn, or you take a little bit of damage. Then you need to use your Rock Wrecker onto the sacrifice Pokemon, and then wait for another turn. And this can repeat itself 4 or 5 times. It depends on how many prizes your opponent has, until he finally has an answer to your Rhyperior. Now, that is basically what I don't like. Of course, there are other ways that we can take advantage of this Rhyperior, which is the escape rope and other stuff that we're gonna see later on. Overall, what I like about Rhyperior, in few words, is that it can definitely remove the biggest threat of your opponent on your demand, which is fantastic. What I like is that Rhydon is a very decent Pokemon, so I think that it's worth investing on it. So why not evolve it if you see fit? If you don't, you can still stay with Rhydon. And the other good thing is that it is a tough Pokemon. It's not easily killable. But this drawback, this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. It is quite huge. So use it wisely. Use it for defeating your opponent's biggest threat. Alright, I spent quite a lot of time to Rhyperior, but I knew that this was coming. And it was the second rare, I'm not sure if I mentioned. Now we have the cute Espurr, which has this cute perplexing eyes ability. The defending Pokemon's weakness is now Psychic until the end of your next turn. This is definitely the only goal with this is to prepare Meowstic for a bigger attack. And that is definitely what Espurr is trying to do. Meowstic has this very awesome Allure ability. Draw 3 cards with 1 energy. That is not bad at all. It is quite cool. And it also synergizes with the Hand Kinesis ability with 2 energy. Deal 10 damage for each card in your hand. So at this point you see that it is very important to have many cards in your hand, basically because the deck is very energy heavy and very evolutions heavy, and because Meowstic is definitely your biggest threat. It is the weakest HP wise, but it is definitely the biggest threat. I like when I have a deck that I know that I have at least 1 card that can knock out anything in the entire Pokemon, in the entire Pokemon card game, not only in the Theme Deck category. This Meowstic can defeat any freaking single Pokemon, even Pokemon GX. If you have enough cards in your hand, you will probably not have enough cards for a Pokemon GX in this deck, but we don't care because this is a Theme Deck. You're gonna play only against Theme Decks, hopefully. So, Hand Kinesis, 10 damage for each card on your hand. We are gonna see later on how other cards synergize. We've seen Solrock, which allows you to draw cards, Allure allows you to draw cards, and we're gonna see a few more supporters later on, which really boost Meowstic. and especially my favorite we're gonna see later on. Also, this is the third rare. It is a double rare. We have 2 of these in this deck, and I'm very glad for it. And now we're gonna move on to Rockruff. This is one of the funniest names on Pokemon that I've ever seen. With 1 energy corner, this is not that bad. The defending Pokemon cannot retreat during your opponent's next turn. Most probably you don't want that, but I cannot tell. I mean, there might be a situation where you want it. Don't use it if you don't want it. That's what I wanna say. If you want your opponent to have even a small chance of retreating, if you want this, don't corner yourself, okay? And Wild Kick, just 30 damage with a coin flip. I hate this move. I really do hate it. Now we move on to the last rare, and this is the featured rare of the deck, and this is by far the most disappointing card in the entire deck. Lycanroc, if I'm pronouncing that properly. 110 HP for a stage 1 Pokemon. Rare. Stage 1 rare Pokemon, not stage 1 Pokemon. That sucks. That sucks more than Lucario that we saw before. With 2 energy, 30 damage. That sucks. At least in my opinion, okay? It's a rare. It's a freaking rare. There are uncommon and common cards that deal 30 damage with 1 energy. Solrock deals 40 damage with 1 energy and a stadium card. I don't know. And it becomes worse with 3 energy, Accelerock, 100 damage. It cannot even knock out himself. I don't know. Please let me in the comments below if you like this card, if you can see anything that I cannot see, because I think that this is a crap card. Yes, and we have it twice. I would really prefer, and I would really be glad to have Meowstic as the featured card of this deck, but no, it's not happening. We have Lycanroc. That is my personal opinion. Let's move on. We have 1 escape rope, which can prove very handy, especially with Rhyperior, which is very heavy and requires quite a lot of energy to retreat. Also, you can lure your opponent's biggest threat sometimes not, but sometimes yes. That's a good one. We have Rescue Stretcher. This card allows me basically to bring back my biggest threats if they have died. This would be Rhyperior or a set of Espurr and Meowstics. That is basically what I've done most of the times. Most of the times I've brought back Espurr and Meowstic. Actually, 1 Espurr and 2 Meowstics, and I had my threats all over again, because they are the Meowstic attack is very cheap, energy-wise, and very powerful. So put a Pokemon from your discard pile onto your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Very good. Nest Ball, we have 2 of those. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. That's a good one because we have evolutions and we need the basic Pokemon. Also, we have Timer Ball, which since we get the basic Pokemon, we play Timer Ball in order to get the evolutions. Flip 2 coins for each head, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon and get it to your hand. Not bad at all. Potion is always a good card. In this deck, I believe it's not awesome. I would really appreciate this spot to have something else. Maybe an extra supporter or anything else for that matter, but still I will never complain for a potion. It can save lives, definitely. You have Energy Retrieval, which is a card that puts back energy from the discard pile to your hand, and this is very important in this deck because we have, as I mentioned many times in this video, very energy heavy deck, so this is very important. Brooklet Heal, once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic water or fighting type Pokemon, put it into their bench and shuffle their deck. This is basically good in my opinion, first of all because it triggers Solrock's improved ability. That's one thing. Secondly, because it brings the basic Pokemon that you may need at any moment from the deck onto your bench. This is very important. Thirdly, it thins your deck. Very important to be able to thin your deck, remove the basic Pokemon as fast as possible, and start drawing the energy in the evolutions. So those are the three basic reasons why I like it, and I always play it when I have it. Also, it can negate your opponent's stadium card, which is also a very good one. Professor Kukui, this is one of the funniest cards in the history of Pokemon, in my opinion. Funniest names, at least. Draw 2 cards. During this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This is extremely powerful. I think that you can see it already. It is extremely powerful with Meowstic, because in a normal Pokemon situation, it would increase the damage by 20. For Meowstic, it increases the damage by 40 because you draw 2 more cards. So this is a very, very powerful card, especially for Meowstic. If not for Meowstic, it allows you to draw cards. It makes everybody more powerful. So a very awesome card. Acerola, I don't know. If you know, tell me. Please tell me below. I'm really interested to know. So this card, I was very surprised when I discovered what this card can do. Put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand. So what I did, let's take this hypothetical scenario that I have a ready Meowstic on my bench, and I have a ready and previously attacking Rhyperior on my active spot. So Rhyperior is Rhydon, Rhyhorn, Rhyperior, and 4 energy. This is 7 freaking cards, if I'm counting properly. 7 freaking cards. So it has to take 1 damage. So let's assume that it took 1 damage. I play Acerola. I return all those cards to my hand, promote the Meowstic, and I have 6 cards. 7 but minus 1 from Acerola. 6 cards on my hand, on top of what I already had. So this means that my Meowstic can become an instant, extremely huge threat, very, very surprisingly, and that's what I freaking like about Acerola. It is a very good combo with Meowstic, in my opinion. It can also save your basic Pokemon. It can save many things, many situations. It can also allow you to double trigger your Lucario, double trigger your Rhyperior special ability, and other stuff. But this is by far the best scenario that I see, is the Meowstic very surprisingly hand increase. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm very excited about that. We have 3 How, which is very key in this deck because of Meowstic. Mainly because of Meowstic. 3 times the ability of drawing 3 cards. That makes Meowstic very, very powerful. Very good card. And the last card is a Wishful Baton, which if the Pokemon this card is attached to is your active Pokemon and it is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, move up to 3 basic energy cards from that Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. Do you know how crazy this is? You can cycle Rhydons, taking the 3 energy. Actually, you can do it only once, but you know, Rhydon, your opponent is trying so hard to get rid of it, and then you just transfer the energy to your bench Rhydon, evolve it to Rhyperior, and boom, damage. You can do that with Lycanrocs, even though I don't like them, or you can do that with Lucario, even though I don't like this guy either. You can do it with almost every single Pokemon in this deck, and you know, benefit. Even just for 1 turn, you can win the tempo. So that is my opinion about this card, at least. And then we have 14 fighting type and 6 psychic type cards, energy cards, and of course a Lycanroc brown coin. We have a deck box, a Rocksteady deck box, and card sleeves. No, just regular normal card sleeves. So that was the deck review for this one. Please let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed the video, first of all, and secondly, if you enjoy the deck. I have overall wins of 22 out of 27 played games. So I may have said things about those cards, about cards not being good, and I stand on those on these opinions. I think that most of the rares are not good, at least not good enough for a theme deck to be that good. So I kind of feel that this deck is better due to its commons and uncommons, and especially supporters, instead of its rares. Not that the rares are crap, but they are very, very mediocre. At least in my opinion. So I'm very excited about a deck that it is, in theory, not powerful, but in practice, it is powerful enough in order to win 22 out of 27 games. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous in my opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you like this Rocksteady deck, if you have purchased it. What's your opinion about this one? And meanwhile, I'm gonna go to my collection and open one or maybe two, I don't know, one maybe, booster pack from the Sun and Moon. Actually, I'm gonna open two because this is my first video after so freaking long. So, I don't have enough cards from this set, so you're gonna see quite a lot of new cards, but I'm gonna stay with the reverse, which is a Sidra, and the actual rare it is, oh come on, it is a Cyanotic. Okay, I don't have a clue about this card. Heal, your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. It doesn't look that good, in my opinion. So let's open one more and hope for an ultra rare, because I have not pulled one for quite a long time, and I would really love that. We have a double rare, that's cool. The reverse is a little Ninetales. Quite of an awesome girl there, if it is a girl, looks like. So this is the water type Ninetales. This is crazy to me. And the actual rare, come on, it is, oh nice! A Charizard DX! Oh my god! That is very surprising. I freaking enjoy this card. I actually, it's the first time that I've ever seen it, but 250 HP, evolves from Charmeleon, that is amazing. With 3 energy, 70 damage, with 5 energy, 300 damage, discard 3 energy, that is okay. I'm sure that there are cards that return energy directly to the Pokemon. And with 3 energy again, Raging Out GX, discard the top 10 cards from your opponent's deck. That is what I call a meal. That is a good one. So awesome! Awesome pull right there. Very, very excited about this. Amazing. And it is not full art, but it is still awesome. Okay, so a very, very extremely good way, in my opinion, to finish up this video. Again, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below what do you think about this deck in general. What do you think about the Charizard GX that we just pulled? And what is a question for this video? Reply to this question only. What is your win rate with the Rocksteady deck? Mine currently, it is 22 out of 27. What is your win rate? And I'm gonna see you on this deck review. That was the deck review. I'm gonna see you on the playtest video with the same deck, maybe tomorrow or sometime during this week. So thank you so very much for watching. Again, please check out your screen right now. You will see other videos that might interest you. You can see Let's Play series in this channel. You can see Pokemon or Hearthstone content. Choose any that you may like. And I really hope to see you in the next video. Until then, take very good care of yourself. And I'm gonna see you, Rhytorians. Bye.